Good evening and welcome to All For Women's Football. We are back once again. It's not a Monday. Cheeky little surprise for you there. Never mind, it was a bank holiday. I thought I'd give them a day off. But we're back today. It's Tuesday. We couldn't not do a show this week. My goodness. There's just news coming out of our ears. And it will be all spoken about after this. Yes, hello, welcome. It's not going to be just Liberty and myself this evening. Fun though that would be, we've done it before. But we will be having Freya. Turns out Tuesday's not the greatest of evenings for Freya because she's got work. Imagine that, having to work. So as a result, it's made life a little bit tricky, but she will be with us as soon as she possibly can be. So there we go. We will have the mighty Freya back in as part of the Avengers. Emily, lovely to see you as well. And Couture's here as well. Hello, bonjour. Commiserations to me. I don't know why anyone's giving me commiserations. I'm perfectly happy as things stand. I would give those commiserations over here, if I'm honest with you. I feel like it's been a much worse weekend for them. Right, what should we chat about first? Obviously, I wanted WSL 2 to be the headliner. That's where I was going to be going today. But I would like Freya to very much be involved in that conversation. So to stop conversing too much back into the WSL 2 again, we will begin in the only place really where I think we can begin, if exactly that, Couture. Exactly that. How did you guess? What can I say? Nothing if not predictable, because actually, if we're going to sit here and talk a little bit about the WSL 2 and how amazing that season has been, I think the other part for me has been that there's just been such a horrendous promotion, really, of the Europa Cup this season. I mean, it's like UEFA actually put a tweet out, Liberty, after they'd won. BK Häcken have won. It's like that's probably the only tweet that you will find from UEFA that this tournament even existed. So you can imagine there's people looking there going, oh, there was a new cup. Nobody saw that, didn't know that was going on. So I think very important that we take a look at what has happened. My big hope is, of course, as we've said before, that this will become something that is publicised much more, is on the TV much more, and something that is an ability for people to watch. So I think that would be quite nice, but unfortunately that wasn't the case this year. But there was the final, as Liberty told us last weekend. And when Liberty spoke to us last week, Hammarby were 1-0 down to BK Häcken, with Schroeder having scored the goal. And she just wasn't happy with one, really, was she, Liberty? Because on the 1st of May, which was, of course, the Friday, which is the day you told us it would be on, so congratulations to you, she decided to score a hat-trick, which is always a pleasure, never a chore, for players like this. Hammarby did score a couple of goals, and it looked like quite a good one. Although they were 2-0 down on the night, they did manage to get 2 goals. So you're at that point where it's 3-2. Hammarby just needed one more, but Schroeder scoring in the second half, quite early in the second half, to be fair. And then not a lot goal-wise happening. Well, not a lot, nothing happening goal-wise in that respect. It's not like there was an occasional one. That was it. That was all of the goals, meaning that it was 2 wins for BK Häcken. And it means, of course, that the mighty Hammarby did fall on this occasion. But I think as much as you must be sad about that, and I understand that because you're a Hammarby girl at heart, you're also a Swedish football fan at heart. You know, you love that league. You spoke a lot about how that final was such a big final for Sweden as well. It puts them in the history books as well. So as sad as you must be for Hammarby, inside you must be dancing a little bit. Talk to us about the Europa Cup final, what it means for Swedish football and women's football on the continent.
Yeah. I'm not gonna try and fib anyone and say I wasn't sad, because I was, because I actually thought that across for 135 minutes of the 180 across both legs, I actually thought Hammarby were the better team and played the better football. The second half of the first leg and then the whole of the second leg, I genuinely, hand on heart, all honesty, thought that Hammarby were the better team, played better football. Thank you, Emily. But that being said, just because you play the better football doesn't mean that you're going to win the game. And the difference between Hammarby and Häcken last Friday was that one team had Felicia Schröder and the other one didn't. And that genuinely was the only difference. Regardless of what one man told me on Twitter on Saturday morning, I very much thought, I thought Hammarby were the better team. I actually thought BK Häcken, other than Schröder's 3 goals, were very anonymous, didn't offer much at all. And this Swedish man, was very annoyed that I'd said that and told me what was his words. Please don't offer your analysis on the game again. And I thought, unfortunately for you, mate, this is my job. So unfortunately, I'm going to do that. But yeah, I generally thought that Häcken were quite anonymous, quite happy to let Hammarby control the game. They knew they had the advantage of the goals and were going to be like, you can play your football, but we've got the goals. That being said, Hammarby were very much still part of it, still in the game. And they didn't stop fighting until genuinely the last minute. And that's all you can really ask for, even if your team's behind. Their heads never dropped. They generally kept fighting until the last minutes. And yeah, it is what it is. We lost, but it's fine. But on that note, hello Connor, for Swedish football, it was massive. It was a really good crowd in Gothenburg. It was loud as well. Mainly that was Hammarby fans. The club reported midweek last week about 600. I imagine that there was probably maybe 650, 700, but they were loud and they didn't stop, no matter the team being behind. It was brilliant. But also the Häcken fans, when they got scored and stuff, they were also very, very good. It was a real occasion for Swedish football. I saw somebody say that UEFA got lucky that it was 2 Swedish teams in the final, so the crowds was going to be good. That doesn't matter, because actually fans of the club, no matter how much promotion you put out, are going to go, especially if you have Hammarby fans in the final. Like, they're going to be there.
Hammarby did win the attendance war, if there is such a thing, because there was 7,500 at the Hammarby leg, only 5,500 at the Häcken leg. So there we go. You did get something.
But yeah, I thought it was a very good game, very entertaining. Couldn't really take your eyes off of it because genuinely you didn't know what was going to happen. But Scudder very much proved why she is so spoken about, so highly regarded at just 19. And I actually got to speak to her last week in build up to the second leg, and I just got to ask her, like, what do you enjoy about being a striker instead of scoring goals? Which kind of came to bite me in the bum a little bit, because obviously then she goes and scores a hat trick. But she just said, like, you can't describe it. It's unbelievable. It's such a good feeling. And you could see that in her goals. They were very good goals. They weren't like really boring tap-ins. So well done to them. And also, I think the biggest thing for me is, obviously now this is going to change because Arsenal aren't in the Champions League final this season. But as of this exact second, I know also it was a terrible 24 hours for me personally. Like, genuinely, lose one final and then get knocked out of the other to go to the other one, not 24 hours later, was a terrible choice. But in this current moment, both of the European champions were coached by women who both had to end their careers early because of injuries, but have now found success as managers. Obviously, somebody, who was it earlier? So I'm going to scroll up and give. Couture said very rightfully said earlier, Elena Stuku, what a manager, very, very good. She's not been there for 6 months yet. She's already coached them to a Champions League final, they wish, a European Cup final. Obviously, big shout out to Matt
Maybe
Lind.
next year.
A big shout out to Matt Lind for the foundations he built for her. That can't be going unsaid, but she still has done the hard work for the past 5 months now. So she ended her career at 23, actually, ironically, with Hammarby because of consistent knee injuries. And obviously, Renee Slager's ended her career at 27, top of my head, because of consistent injuries that meant she couldn't come back. And for both to have then had the support to get their licenses and become managers and still have an impact on the game, that both current European champions were coached by women, is unbelievable, and something that definitely needs to be shouted out more than it has been, because I think that that's something that I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Obviously, the Champions League final, Barcelona and Lyon are coached by men, so we won't currently have this exact situation again until maybe next year, or if not beyond, depending on who gets to the finals next year. So yeah, shout out to that, 'cause it's unbelievable. But overall, because of the talent that Häcken have, they deserve the win. They got the goals that were needed. But I think that the Svenska Cupen final that's coming up in 11 days is going to be really interesting, because that is a one-off final, and Hammarby, as I said, for 135 minutes for me were the better team. So it could be really interesting what happens then on the 16th of May. But well done to Häcken, the inaugural winners of the Europa Cup. That's a historical thing to do, and hats off to them, and the impact is going to have to prove that Swedish football is still really good. It's not going anywhere despite people saying it is, because teams and because players were leaving. That happens all the time. But yeah, very, very well done to Häcken for their win. Oh, Freya's here.
She has arrived in the background. Yes, I'm just going to keep her sat there just for a moment while I ask you this next question, and I'll put her back in. But you mentioned Felicia Schroeder as well there, and I just wanted to ask you where you see her growth going next. She's played a few times for Sweden and no goals as yet internationally, still waiting for that first international goal, but obviously at club level she is obviously finding the net. We can see that. What sort of a career path do you see? And I asked that partially because of what Couture mentioned here about both Häcken and Hammarby being talent factories in the women's game. Obviously, we've seen a few of them leave. He also mentioned how Ellen Rangerheim had left alongside Holmberg as well, which probably didn't help Hammarby in that respect. But yeah, what sort of career path do you see her moving and taking next?
Well, she signed that new deal with Häcken last summer because she wanted to finish school. So you finish school, like senior school, secondary school at 19, in Sweden. So she will finish school this summer. Oh, Barry's looking very intense. She's finished. So she'll finish school this summer, and she said she wanted to finish school before thinking about moving. And once again, when I spoke to her last week, she was talking to other people about like she wants it to be the right time for her. She doesn't want to move because it's like cool and like it's trendy to move to the WSL or anywhere else, despite the big names that want her. I think that she'll probably see out the end of this season with Häcken and then probably move next January instead. That's what I think, because I think that she could go, depending on if they win the Svenska Cupen, you could do the first ever treble in the Damallsvenskan. Like that's on the line for Häcken at the moment. So I think that maybe she'll try and do that. But I do think she'll have a big move, whether that's to the WSL, whether that's to Barcelona wanted her, Lyon were interested. You know, the scope of teams that are interested in her and should rightfully be interested in her is like crazy. So I don't see her leaving Sweden. I don't not Sweden, Europe. I think she'll stay in Europe. Just for now, because this is where we consider the best football to be. you know, the best talent are here, Champions League football and stuff like that. So I think she won't leave Europe, but I think she's a bit of a chameleon, that I think that her finishing and her goals can kind of be transported amongst styles. I don't think it's like she has to play one way to score. I think that she could do really well with Barcelona, like tiki-taka, or she could do really well with counter pressing in Germany. So I think that no matter where she ends up, I think she'll do well. I think it will be in Europe. I'd like her not to go to like a direct rival of Arsenal, because I'm kind of sick of her scoring against a team of mine at this point. So if she could like not go to like a Chelsea or a City, it'd be really great. But I'd also, sorry, I just thought about this. Really would be interested to see her like develop under Eva Pyle. Also very biased in that, but that would be very interesting of a direction if Barcelona did spend the money on her. But I think she'll stay in Europe. I don't know where, just somewhere that's not direct rival to Arsenal consistently, please.
I'll take that quite personally that Man United weren't mentioned in that group there, so I'm gonna have a little sulk. And whilst I'm
you already stole one Swedish striker. You can't have all of them.
It's turned out lovely so far, that, isn't it?
Right.
What? Just saying.
It's not my fault. That's Mark Skinner's fault.
Banjo and Amumu. Right. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Lovely to have you here. I was going to give you a big build up, but I was starting to dig a hole for myself, so I thought I'd better get out of it quickly. By introducing the lovely you. Hello. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Apologies for being a bit late. Busy day. But I'm here and caught the end of the IKEA Cup. So, no, different cup. No, different Swedish. Oh, too many Swedes. Too many vegetables. What we're talking about.
I don't even know another Swedish shop. We're in trouble now.
Jysk are a good furniture shop.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. Did you catch any of the Europa Cup final?
No.
No, me neither.
I didn't. Nice and quick. But yeah, you probably already mentioned it. We've said it the whole time. Just the coverage and the lack of people talking about it is really, really sad. So I only actually caught it. I think I only realised it had started 35 minutes in. So I managed to do a quick update on the channel and be like, hey, this is happening. But yeah, unfortunately, hello, Emily. Yeah, it was. I just need more coverage, please. And I'm happy.
Totally with you there, and like I say, big hope that next season we will see a little bit more of the Europa Cup. Just a little bit more coverage. It would be nice to see. On even Häcken's own Twitter site took a little while before they popped something really big out there for people to be able to go and read. So yeah, would have been good. But there we go. So that was the Europa Cup. It means we can sort of leave Europe for a minute. We'll come back to Europe in a second, because this is what I wanted to talk about today. This was the headline news.
Is that a compliment? Good, sure. Oh,
there you go. Does he not usually give you comment?
No, he rips us to shreds.
Well, it's a Tuesday, that's why. Maybe Tuesday's a different sort of day for people. But there we go. It was superb. I said to you at the weekend, not the weekend, but last show, that I was really looking forward to this weekend. And I did. I had an absolute barnstorming time watching all the different things that were going on. I had the WSL 2 on both of the screens. And it was, I mean, maybe not quite as eventful as it could have been, but my goodness, it was certainly up there. We knew that there was 1 point gap between the three teams. Charlton were obviously in the driving seat, but it all went a little bit Pete Tong for them, with Birmingham getting a very good win. I mean, Charlton seemed to start well, and then Birmingham just grew into the game, and Charlton really, if we're honest, never really looked like they were going to lay a glove on them with the way that they were playing. They did push a little bit hard at the end, but I think the bit that really got me going was watching Crystal Palace, because what was hilarious, well, I say hilarious, it's the wrong word. What was really investing whilst watching that was that, of course, the win we knew would get them promotion, but then they just went on a little spree and they got to about 6-1. And then you start looking at the goal difference and you start thinking, if
That's
they
what we were
get a
saying,
few
yeah.
more goals, they could win the league here. Poor old Birmingham, who were just sat there strutting around thinking, yeah, we've got this in the bag, all of a sudden would have a little bit of a problem, because like, well, maybe we are going to have to go and push it if we want to win the league, at which point Charlton maybe could have come back and scored a goal. But it didn't happen. Even though there was 25 minutes left, Palace seemed to take their foot off of the gas a little bit. But nonetheless, absolute drama and such a good end to the season. I did catch the end of your watch along.
Saw you pop in, thank you. Yeah,
you know, I thought I was there. I saw it on Twitter. I'll pop in and say hello to Freya. Why not? And very good it was too. So well done for that. A very busy day for you, a busy weekend, I think, really would be fair on that one. But yeah, what did you make of it? WSL 2? Talk to me.
it was an incredible final day, and I think that's exactly what you want from a league where you've got the contenders for the top, but there's still but there's still jeopardy, because of course Charlton went into the weekend in first and they ended up in the third place promotion spot because of results elsewhere, and I think that's where some of the magic still is in this league. I don't remember saying that. No, I probably did. Because at the time in the league, Charlton were still unbeaten. They went on a fantastic run. They seemed to find their rhythm really, really quickly. And it was such a shame that, and people are very quick to go, oh, you bottled it. No, it's just a very hard and competitive league. And that's exactly what we want. And Birmingham, of course, last season, if we remember, that was the final day versus London City. They went up by 1 point. So for Birmingham, it was very much that they weren't going to do it again, and they came out fighting right from that first minute. And Charlton just couldn't get into that next gear. Birmingham wouldn't let them. So the fact that it was only 2-0. If you like, in a sense, because Birmingham just weren't stopping. And I will say, Oceane Hertré, which is completely butchered. I do apologise, any French speakers. She is incredible and a complete physical force. So I'd be surprised if some teams don't try and poach her before the start of the next season, because she is so good and was integral to that side. So. Yeah, Birmingham have got a brilliant team. Not surprised that they did pull out the bag in that final match. But like you said, with Crystal Palace, I think if they'd made the most of that first half, because I think it was just 1-0, wasn't it, at half-time? Oh, no, it was 1-1 at half-time. And you just thought, if they'd have put a few more past them in that first half, that second half was just going to be complete demolition. And then they could have gone for goal difference. So I think it ended, what was it, a 4-goal difference between them because of that huge spree at the end. So even that could have been a final twist to the tail. But yeah, it was incredible just watching the results come through. Because obviously when you're live as well, and I know Couture said there, Adam was there. Yeah, Adam was watching the Champions League game for us at the beginning, the Arsenal game, and then we switched over to WSL 2, and it was just, there was so many things happening and so many emotions. It was just a brilliant afternoon, and exactly what you want the end to a season to be. So yeah, congratulations to Birmingham and to Crystal Palace. They've really fought this season, but Charlton of course do have another chance. All is not lost, and the way Leicester are playing, I think they've got quite a good chance, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it's very interesting you said that. I'll let Freya jump in with any thoughts you might have had on the WSL 2. Let's not complicate things. What did you make of?
Liberty.
Let's do that one first, and then I'll do the other question. I've got a habit of doing this. Right, Freya, a couple of questions in on one. Let's just do one question at a time. And that question is, what did you make of the way that it finished, Liberty? Did I call you Freya?
Yeah, I was a bit confused.
I did wonder what the face was.
I was thinking, I think Freya's just given her views, actually. I think Obviously, I was watching through squinted eyes the Arsenal game. But after that, I had the notifications going, and then I turned on the Birmingham Charlton game afterwards, and then was continually still getting the Crystal Palace goal notifications, and I was thinking, I'm watching the wrong game here. That sounds way more interesting. But they were showing the goals on the screen as they were going in, so I could still see it. But I thought that, yeah, like Freya said, it was the perfect end to the season. It is the type of thing that I don't think any of us would have really predicted. Maybe in January, when we're looking at how far Charlton were ahead and how dominant they looked. If you'd have gone to me, by the way, they're going to finish third, actually, they're going to drop on the final day down to third, I would have been like, nah, sorry, absolutely no way. But that is the beauty of a playoff, and that is a proper promotion fight and proper fight to the finish, which I don't think that sort of fight to the finish we haven't had in the WSL in a good couple seasons at this point. So I thought it was unbelievably entertaining. And it was also very much a thing of nope, completely gone what I was going to say. Sorry. It was entertaining. But I think it also was it was better knowing that Charlton's playoff game is going to be Leicester. No offence to Leicester, but having that confirmation from the Arsenal game last week in midweek, knowing that whoever finishes third is going to be playing off against Leicester was better. Maybe that's a bit cruel to Leicester, and no offence to any Leicester fans, but knowing that that's the outcome and that's what's waiting for us was really entertaining for me. And I was like, oh, I'm really excited for that now, because if you'd have gone and Charlton are in the playoff and they could be playing one of West Ham, Liverpool, Leicester, I'd have been like, oh, okay, just not as fun. Knowing what the outcome is quite interesting for me and quite entertaining. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant. It was the perfect end to the sort of push that's been happening between the three of them all season. You probably definitely wouldn't say the same if you're a Charlton fan, and no offense to all the Charlton fans out there, but as a neutral, it was the perfect end because you generally couldn't predict it at all. And also shows the impact of, I was going to say, the impact of actually putting your money where your mouth is for Birmingham, because the opening goal scored by Ulmer. We've discussed how to say her name before, and I've completely forgotten. Leidenhalmer. I think that's what.
Leidenhalmer, yeah.
I think that's what Uncle Tony told me it was right. But obviously brought her in January for this exact reason, to have her goal scoring in a promotion race, and it paid off on the final day in the big game that genuinely decided everything. So I hope that all three teams, if Charlton do get promoted, but especially Birmingham, Crystal Palace, continue to put their money where their mouth is and give their squads the reinforcements that they deserve to play in the WSL next season, so we don't have yo-yo teams, because we've seen with London City this season, if you put the money in, you will be rewarded by not being a yo-yo team. So yeah. And also Birmingham have an ex Hammarby player who they signed in January, so very happy for her as well, because she deserves to play WSL football. I think she's very talented, very underrated, so happy for her and all of Birmingham for winning the league, and also for Crystal Palace for all getting through and going back to the WSL.
Okay, there we go. Very good points indeed. What I was going to ask you both was, it comes down to people's thoughts about Charlton and Leicester. Now, I will say is, I was probably more invested in the Crystal Palace match in the end, if I'm honest, because although I was watching the Charlton one over here, oh yeah, it's just not happening, is it really? And I'm sitting there, and I genuinely was. If Sean, if you're watching this, turn it off now. I genuinely was willing Crystal Palace on to score more because I really wanted them to get to that sort of 9-10 goals. Genuinely, I thought that would have been just the most, because nobody expected that. Nobody was looking at that match and going, Crystal Palace could win the league. Yeah, nobody thought that. They all thought, if I get promoted, they're not winning the league. High five. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, on the commentary, they were saying that they'd need to win by 11-1 to...
They were wrong.
Oh, they were wrong.
Not like the commentary to be wrong, is it? But they were, because 10-1 would have been the 4 goals thing that was needed, because then the next one is on goals scored. And at that point, shockingly, Crystal Palace would have been above on goals scored.
Well, that kind of ruins what I was going to say, so I'm going to shut up now.
Okay. No problems. I heard him say it as well, and I was like, "You're wrong. Read your league properly." But there we go. So yes, it was. But the question I wanted to ask was this: if you look at Charlton's last 10 games, they've only won 2 of them, and one of those was an FA Cup one. Their running has been fairly poor as yet. So the question is, who wins it? What do we reckon? Because I know that everybody's saying, well, Leicester are in a really bad place at the moment, but I don't think you can look at Charlton, because I actually think Leicester have got more of a chance than I think people are giving them credit for at the moment, because Leicester have known they're going to be down potentially for a long time. They know they've had one game to save them all effectively. Charlton have gone from, we're definitely going up this year, to, well, where did that go? And that's really difficult. And when you've had big games that they've not managed to win, I mean, you look at some of those defeats, and some of those, I mean, they drew with Ipswich in February, which, you know, helped when Ipswich were beginning their sort of revival. They lost to Portsmouth. I mean, that should say a lot. They lost to Portsmouth. They're going into the WNL. So that's not ideal. They lost to Crystal Palace, which isn't, you know, a negative at all, because we saw how well Palace finished the season. But then they also drew with Southampton before losing to Birmingham. So I'm going to put my neck on the line and say, actually, I think Leicester might well have the better mentality, because it's all or nothing on this one. So what do you two think? Who are you going for in that big playoff game?
I think Leicester, based on the fact that Charlton now have this 2-week break of no games, where Leicester will have, they obviously had Chelsea the weekend just gone. They'll have a break this weekend because it's FA Cup, but then they'll have the last game of the season, and they're playing, I'm going to look that up very quickly. Somebody, last game of the season, they'll play someone. Sorry, I can't spell and spelled Leicester wrong. Still can't spell, apparently. They're going to play someone in the WSL. They're going to play Everton. Oh, that's good. That's a good last match. They're going to play Everton in the last game of the season, which will happen on the 16th. So they're going to have a more time of between now and the 23rd to play more football. One more game, but you know what I mean. Than Charlton, who've got nothing. So unless Charlton are having some behind closed doors friendlies or inter-team games, I think that purely on the fact of momentum, Leicester will be in a better headspace to go into the playoff on the 23rd, because there's a big gap now for Charlton. It's not for Leicester. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. That made sense in my head.
Does make sense. Freya, can you make even more sense?
I'm torn. I am Natalie Imbruglia, because the one for those of us on it. So I think with Leicester, I think if Shannon O'Brien has anything to do with it, they're not going down, because she, especially at the Chelsea match at the weekend, she was like the only one fighting for that. So I think if they can get their mentality right, I think they've got a good chance at coming out and leaving everything on the pitch. My only issue is their obviously Shannon Brown scored at the weekend, but really their attacking threat isn't really there. And if you look at both of the histories, I know you said about Charlton have only won however many. Leicester haven't won for longer. So I just think, yeah, morale isn't good. I've read an article that said that they are feeling the best they have in the last couple of years as a team, which is great, but we're just not seeing that on the pitch. Whereas I think Charlton, they've got Karen Hills, they've got a structure in place where they can give it their all. So I think, again, as an all or nothing, they'll be thinking, well, we're probably not going to get a playoff again. This is our chance to really, really smash it and take an advantage of where Leicester are emotionally as well. So I just think it's going to be tight. I don't think any team's going to, completely wipe the floor with the other one. But I would love it to go to extra time and a Jodie Hutton screamer for the winner. That would be that would be incredible. But yeah, I do worry for the future of Leicester as a club. I know we've spoken about it before, but are they in the right place to continue in the WSL? Have they got that structure there for their future? Or if they do stay up, how's that then going to affect them? If you know what I mean. So yeah, I do worry about them, but it's in their hands essentially as the technically better team because they're in the WSL.
Absolutely, you would certainly expect them to do better, and if they do manage to stay up, it means they will have gone a step better than their men's side. But yeah, I think it's you think it's bad potentially to be a Liberty this weekend. I think being a Leicester fan at the moment is probably marginally not as much fun. So there we go. Yeah, probably right there. That's a reasonable way to word it. But there we go. Fantastic fun, I think, in the WSL too. We'll go into more detail on this tomorrow because obviously tomorrow's show will be the Lower League Lingo show and we'll be talking a little bit about the WNL playoffs. But obviously we do know that it will be Wolverhampton Wanderers who will be making it into WSL 2. That seems to have cheered Liberty up, so maybe the weekend wasn't that terrible. I think if you were talking to women's football fans who've followed the last few seasons in the WNL, I think most people's favourites in terms of morally is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? That bit where your heart goes to Wolves and the way in which
we're willing them to win at the weekend, yeah.
So they sort of had that sort of it, but Plymouth were a very, very good side, and that game, if I'm honest, had 0-0 written all over it from start to end. Just one mistake, and it just goes to show that's just at the top of the WNL. Charlton have worked it out as well now. Just one mistake, it could be enough to sort of end your chances. What do we think about Wolves in the WSL 2? They worked really hard to get there. There was all of that palaver last season about them not even applying to get in there. They're finally there. How do we reckon Wolves are going to get on in that division?
I think incredibly well. Thank you, Liberty. I really hope they retain the players they've got. I know obviously teams and squads shift and upgrade sounds really harsh, but you know what I mean, to adapt to the league and to get more depth and quality. And I just think I really hope they retain their soul and their spine and like their ethos, because all over my Twitter at the weekend, it was, congratulations, Wolves, everything you've been through the last 8 years, fighting for this, and, for Dan McNamara as well, and his involvement. And I saw a couple of people say, oh, he shouldn't be on the poster for the promotion. I don't know if people saw it, but I was like, of course he should be. He's the manager. He's, he is a part of it. Whether you agree he should have been kind of how the collage was made or not, but you can't.
You know what? I can't help it. I never do this, never ever. I sit here in my little host's bit, and I'm very polite and I'm nice, and I let the floor go. That really upset me. That did, because in a world where we're trying to get lots and lots and lots of women's voices amplified, I think also it's very important to recognise that men enjoy it too. Like, men are a part of football too, and we're not all sitting here trying to denigrate the positions that women are in. And I actually saw it for the artistic beauty that I thought was in there, because ultimately this is a manager, and the manager's job, if you will, is to cultivate the talent that is around them and give them the opportunity to be the very best that they can be. Yeah. And the idea of it being a picture of the manager, McNamara, being stood there really cheering, having done all he's done in the women's game, and the fact that he's been working for Wolves like he has, and every picture that's building him is all of the women. I think artistically it was incredible, because it kind of shows he's the guy that shepherded them to where they needed to be, but they are still the focus of the picture. You don't have him without them, and you don't have them without him. So it shows that they are very much together. And I just don't think that's the hill that people need to die on. Rant over. Back over to the ladies.
No, I 100% agree, though, because you think if that's what you're taking from this victory, then you clearly don't care about the National League at all, because look at what it symbolises and look at what it's done. So yeah, Wolves finally did it, like you said, about all the hassle with the licence last season, and the fact that the club made such a big announcement of it this season, like, we've applied, we've submitted it, it's been accepted. And I just think, and I agree, Liberty, with that. It's funny how many people, and especially influencers as well, which I could go off on a rant about this, but who are suddenly interested in the National League because it's the final. They've never mentioned it before. They're a fan of a very certain popular team, and they're never at a lower ground, and they're never anywhere else. But suddenly they're in collaboration with the National League. And I'm like, hang on a minute. How have you got that? Because clearly you have no interest in it. Whereas you've got genuinely very, very good content creators who look at these leagues and follow them week in, week out, and know the players and know the worth. And yeah, it just gets to a time of year where you're like, really? They're having the credit? So yeah, we won't talk about them anymore. But yeah, for Wolves, I think just the fact that they've been able to get to this point and to win the playoff in the fashion that they did. Like you said, it was a simple mistake, wasn't it? It was just an awkward back pass from the keeper. And I said it because we did a live watch along for that as well, because I love a watch along. And I said, imagine if that's how they go up and that's how Argyle go out. And then it got to full time and I was like, oh God, it was. That was it. That was the mistake. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a battle right till the end, and either one could have got it. But yeah, really, really happy for Wolves. And it was just the fact that the Burton Stadium was all black and gold as well, so it felt like all of the sponsorship was in their favour. But yeah, it was. I love it. Love the fact that they're up, because they're going to give the WSL 2 teams a real run for their money, with how strong they are. As well. Randall.
Beautiful. Anything you want to add on that one, Liberty?
Just that I agree with Freya. I think that also when you fought that hard and you've been so close so many times and you've never got that final step, that also fuels you a bit, where you could have touched it and it kind of got, especially like last season, you could have touched it and it got ripped from you, and you as in the players and the staff didn't deserve that. That will probably fuel them as well a bit, knowing that they finally got there after so much hardship and getting so close so many times. The fuel of being there and playing in this league and being where you deserve to be will probably also fuel them in the hard times, where maybe, obviously we can't predict the future, but maybe in games where it's harder, where they're playing against, teams that are going to be pushing for promotion and stuff, that fight of, we got here, we deserve to be here, so we're going to do everything we can to stay here, will probably keep them up. And I hope it does, because I think that that's a special feeling. I think there are some teams that are happy to coast out and just be in a league and not really have a heart for it, and just sort of be a bottom team, but never the bottom team as such, that if you fought that hard to go up, then maybe you're there's a part of you that knows what that pain is like of trying to get there and not getting there. So that will probably help them more than other teams that have coasted in previous seasons and have never had to really fight. And I hope it does, because they deserve it. And also the issue with the, God forbid, the manager is on the graphic. God forbid that he works tirelessly and it is just as much his work to get this team promotion than anyone else. Because unfortunately, the players may play the football, but somebody's got to tell them what to do. And yeah, if that's you, I'll repeat what I put in the comments in case nobody saw. If that's the first and only time you want to talk about Wolves all season and it's to complain, then give your head a wobble, get over yourself, and maybe look outside of your very, very small bubble of football. Because I promise you, it's a much bigger world than 4 teams, and 4 English teams at that.
Well, there we go. I'm in trouble because I've given somebody a job, and now everybody wants a job, which is wonderful stuff. But there we go. Listen, you guys do your job brilliantly within the chat. You keep us going with all of your bits and pieces, and that job is the most important job of all. So there we go. Completely agree. They did not, as in like, no, having won.
Just today, they've just announced it. Not too long ago.
Not like in a negative way, but you're joking. Shut the front door, I think is what I'm trying to say there. Really?
An hour ago.
Oh.
Norwich City have today parted company with head coach Andy Cook and assistant coach Ethan Scott. So both are gone.
Wow.
I'll look at the article and I'll let you know if they give any details.
This is a bombshell. We shall definitely be having a chat about that next show tomorrow. Definitely one to come and have a chat with Gazza and myself and a couple of special guests. That's a little hint as to where some of these jobs might be. But good stuff anyway. And congratulations to Wolves and congratulations to WSL too. Well, I'm gobsmacked. Like, the geezer's done incredibly well. Absolutely, the whole setup at Norwich was working. They were the only team that's beaten Stevenage all season. So, just an unbelievable side.
Would you like to know some details, or do you want to keep it until tomorrow?
I'll throw it out there now.
Okay, so head of women's football, Flo Allen, said, "This has been an incredibly difficult decision to make and not one we've taken lightly. Andy was set a clear objective when he joined the club 2 seasons ago, achieving promotion to the 3rd tier of the women's football pyramid. I have huge appreciation for the work that Andy has done to get us over the line. Despite that, we've taken stock of what we believe is required to move our programme forward and to ensure that we not only sustain Tier 3 status, but remain competitive on the pitch moving forward. I would like to place on record my wholehearted thanks to Andy and Ethan, and they left no stone unturned in their roles working within the team. They both depart with our thanks and well wishes." So essentially, you've done your job. Off you pop.
Off you pop.
Off you pop. Yeah.
Well, that's plain. It does not make any sense at all, Emily. Not a single jot of it. But there we go. Well, that's knocked me for 6 a little bit. Wasn't expecting that. But there we go. Onwards we move. That's football. It's a harsh little game. But either way, congratulations on what was a superb. But we've got a Norwich podcaster coming on tomorrow night. That's the plan. So actually, that's just got a little bit more fruity, hasn't it? Well, a bit of planning, Barry. I could give you some pat on the back on that one. Right. I suppose to the Champions League was where I was going to go with that one. Yeah, got to go there. And listen, it was entertaining, I think, to say the least. There was plenty going on throughout the course of the 2 weekends or the 2 games that were played. And listen, I think that in terms of semi-finals, probably one of the better semi-finals, more competitive across all games, which I think is incredibly important. So let's kick off with the Barcelona game, just to drag it out just a little bit more for Liberty so that she knows it's coming. Just a little tiny bit there. That was a big one for me because Bayern obviously 1-0 in the first leg. We weren't sure how they would get on against Barcelona in the second leg. As it turned out, not that great, but they went behind, managed to level it up, and then Barcelona put the afterburners on. Bayern did come back with a second goal with Pernilla Harder, who, of course, as we all know, I do not like due to knocking us out. But despite that, you did kind of think with 18 minutes to go, could they? No, they couldn't. Seems to be the answer to that one. Bayern, I think, have done superbly in this one, but it's going to be Lyon in the final. Freya, was that expected for you?
Yeah, but in the best possible way, because I think all four teams, the way they've played, I think they were the right four. So despite how close it did end up being, especially in the Arsenal game, sorry, Liberty, I think the ones who have gone through are the ones that performed the best. So there's no kind of like in the Wolves match, it was one goal and it was a moment that really swung the balance. But I think, yeah, the fact that it now is Barcelona-Lyon, it's like, yeah, they were the two that have outperformed to get to this point. I would have loved Bayern to get there. I really would have. I thought in this second leg, the way they responded to Paraluelo's first goal, I was like, oh, it's on. Oh, this is going to be really good. And then unfortunately, Barcelona did what Barcelona do when they're at the new camp and there's over 60,000 people there, and they just completely played up, didn't they? So and put it to bed. So yeah, it's as expected, but I just had a hint that, I mean, I would have loved Arsenal to do it again, but I think a lot of people were saying, actually, we've just been hit by so many things. It's not our best season. So to get to this point is probably the best we could have asked for. I know Adam was saying that during the live. He was like, yep, I fully accepted we're going out. It's just how many Lyon are gonna score past us. So yes, I think the two deserving went through. Couture, what's not true? What have I said? I didn't purposely lie to you. I don't know. But yeah, I just think for me personally, that, yeah, that's watching both games. That's how I think it should have gone.
Tend to agree. Liberty, we will obviously get to Arsenal, but just before we do, your thoughts on the Lyon Bayern game as well, because
The Lyon Bayern game.
we're starting on that, absolutely.
The Lyon Bayern game.
Lyon Bayern.
Have I made a mistake again?
It was a Barcelona Bayern game.
It was Barcelona and Bayern. Yeah,
Oh, Barry.
I'm still absolutely gobsmacked at what's happened at Norwich, all right? In my mind, I'm already on tomorrow's show thinking, where are we going with this? It's crazy. Let me put it back. Absolutely. You knew what I meant. That one.
I know, I'm sorry, Barry. I was only taking a little bit of a mickey.
Oh, you should.
I thought that for 50 minutes, Linda Dahlmann was the only Bayern player that looked like she wanted to reach a final. And then for the last 40 minutes after that, Pernille Harder also looked like she wanted to make a final. And I've put it in the chat, but I'm happy to say it out loud. I'm not Linda Dahlmann's biggest fan at all. I'm really, really not. I don't like her very much at all. As a player, she's just not my kind of player. But I thought for 50 minutes, she was very good. And I thought that she genuinely really looked like she wanted to make a final. Do with that what you will in regards to her future and age and stuff. But and then Pernille Harder. And to have the goal ruled out right at the end where you're starting to go, oh, one more and we're going to extra time. But it got ruled out. Boo. Where's the drama in that? But yeah. Barcelona just, there is something quite magical about the way that Barcelona harvest the energy. I didn't say they should have won. I just said that two players looked like they wanted to win and go to a final. That's different to the whole team. Two players, just Dahlmann and Harden, looked like they wanted to go to a final to me. The rest of the team looked like they were scared. You've got to be honest, they look really scared of Barcelona. And rightfully so. There's something quite magical about Barcelona's ability to harness the crowd at Camp Nou in ways that I don't see as regularly. I think Arsenal do it on occasion at the Emirates. The first leg against Lyon, I thought they did it very much. They harnessed the energy of the crowd very well. But Barcelona just do it every time at the Camp Nou. I'm thinking back to, obviously, the Real Madrid game that I was there at the beginning of this month. They did it. But also I'm thinking back to the Real Madrid game in 22, the Wolfsburg game in 22, the semi-final that season as well. They just couldn't, just something about that place and then what it does to players. They just hit another level. Alexia was very good. Eva Payol, as ever, got a goal. Very good. Still tying top goal scorer with Alessia Russo. Now, if you want to believe the top goal scorer curse, then we'll see what happens in the final now that Alessia Russo is out of it. It was absolutely everything I could have dreamed of and more. It was absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for asking. It was so good. What was I saying? Yeah, just everyone was like on 15 out of 20 for Barcelona, and I think that's how they harness it all. It's brilliant, and deserving to go through to the final from the second leg. Maybe that's something in having the second leg at home. You can have that, but I think also it doesn't really matter as long as you just work well as a team. And I thought that they were brilliant as a team. Bayern did look scared. They looked like they knew what was at stake, and it scared them more than it scared Barcelona. And maybe that's on Barcelona's history and their now fifth semi-final in a row, something like that. I don't even know. But yeah, brilliant. Bon Mati's back. That is a terrifying prospect when you've got a final coming up. But obviously delighted for her to be back after 4 months. But yeah, brilliant and deserving to be in a final, because I think they've had a very near faultless Champions League run this season. And I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be a very entertaining final, because I think it's probably going to be harder for Lyon than we can imagine. But I also think the same for Barcelona. I think Lyon are going to be really hard in ways that we've not seen before, because we've had this combination of finals before. We've had it more times than I can count, especially in the last 6 years. But I think this could be the most competitive one yet. And I wouldn't be amiss if it was just a 1-0 win again, in a different way than the Arsenal win last season was. But yeah, it was brilliant. A very entertaining game on Sunday, made up for the other semi-final, which was
Like, talk about that. That's fine. Yes or no answers to this question. Do you think Bayern are part of the elite now?
Yeah, why not?
I reckon so. Yeah,
I think they've true dominance in Germany, and then to go to a Champions League semi-final. I think their last thing is that they get to a final. That is the last hurdle, but you have to do so much to get to the semi-final just to begin with that they've got to be part of the elite. It's an unbelievable achievement what they've had this season, despite not actually making it to the final. So yeah, I think they're part of the elite, and I think their dominance is great. Oh, thanks, Kachul. You think we're way ahead of Bayern? That's really lovely, because Bayern always beat us. So thank you so much. That's very lovely of you to say.
Very nice. Oh, such a loving this evening. What is going on? It's all going to come down around our ears at some point, I'm sure. But let's kick off the Arsenal against Lyon bit. There we go, I got a bit right. And I'm going to start this off with short answers from both on this, because the start to this game was unreal, like genuinely unreal. There was so much going on, and I think it was one of those where some people saw it as the officials effectively trying to make it all about them. Some people saw it as, you know, just checking because it's hello there, Liberty's chin is coming over. But I think it's very important that we are honest with all of these things. So Lyon did score, and it was given as offside in the end, which it would have to be because I didn't see anything else wrong with the goal whatsoever. No skin in the game here at all. So I'm happy to give my opinion first. 100% that was offside. As the shot's taken, right in front of the goalkeeper. I don't think anybody can argue with that. But Freya, Liberty, was that an offside?
At first, I didn't know why she'd blown. I just didn't see it, but once watched it back and sort of seen it through there, I thought, yeah, I've got no issues with that. It's a case of very good refereeing, because I genuinely just didn't see it at all, and then for her to see it was in a game where she had some terrible decisions. That was a very good one. But yeah, I've got no issues with it being ruled out.
Freya?
Honestly, I don't think I was watching at this point. So I don't have an opinion, but if Liberty says that it's okay, then it's okay.
Okay. that will excuse you for the next couple of questions for sure. Because there was a big hoo-ha. I think that's the word I would use for this one, a hoo-ha on Twitter. Because a penalty was given to Lyon. Now, I watched it initially, again, in real time. My initial shout was, oh, get up. Get up. And then I watched the replay, and I only needed it once. One replay I looked at and went, I don't think she gets the ball on that. And then from that point on, it's looking for the angle that shows whether or not she hits the ball or whether or not she hits the foot. For me, and there was another one after that as well, and I know that Tim Stillman, God bless him, went off on one. I think this is 100% the right call. And not only do I think it's the right call, I did think it was clear and obvious, because like I say, it's not like I watched it back once and then went, yeah, absolutely not a penalty. I didn't see a deviation on the ball. So, Liberty, you're shaking your head. Why not?
Only because I'm not saying that she doesn't touch, Lotta doesn't touch her at all. I have not yet seen a camera angle where I can convincingly say, yes, she doesn't. Not a single one of those camera angles where I can clearly and confidently say she didn't get the ball at all. And I don't think that's no one's fault. That's not my fault. That's not VAR's fault. It's not the ref's fault. But in the Premier League, I've seen penalties being given by VAR to Arsenal men, against Arsenal men, where I've been in the exact same situation where I've not seen a camera angle where I can confidently say yes or no here. So my stance has always been, if I can't confidently say yes or no, a penalty shouldn't be given, because that doesn't seem fair if you're in a position where you can't 100% say she did or didn't get the ball. And so I will say no in this situation because of my own morals based on previous experience, if that makes sense. I'm not going to suddenly be like, if Lotta gets De Mornay and doesn't get the ball, I'm happy for it to be a penalty. But I can't say yes or no right now because I haven't seen an angle where I can 100% say she did not get any of the ball, if that makes sense. And that's what I was saying also in real time on Twitter. I don't know how it's even gone to VAR, because no way am I looking at that and going 100% she didn't get the ball or 100% she did get the ball. It felt like sort of what Couture's saying, is it re-officiating? It kind of felt like that, in terms of they've seen a player down and in the box and gone, it must be, she must have touched her and not got the ball. But I haven't seen a single camera angle from VAR where I feel confident saying Lotta got the Mornay or didn't get any of the ball. The issue is not getting any of the ball first. And so I'm going to say no penalty for me, because of, as I said, my previous experience through the hostile men and being forced to see some of those penalties being given against us for the exact same offence.
Okay, so Liberty Wenger there is saying she didn't see it. She hasn't seen something. I definitely did. There's no part of it. I genuinely think that there was a really good angle. I thought it was almost going through the legs, looking at the goal. And you could just see the way she goes in, the ball gets kicked straight through. And I think that is the one that VAR used to go with it. So I don't really think there was much of an argument. I do see what people are saying about the re-officiating, but Frey, you've seen this quite a lot in the continental games this season. I think what they seem to have done quite regularly on the continent is they use that for all big decisions. Like, it's irrelevant what they're thinking. You know, if there's a possibility there's a penalty,
yeah, everything gets a double check
regardless, because they want to get the right decision. And I think they probably did on this one. I don't know if you've had a chance to see anything of that yet, but
I'm watching it. Yes. Was this the one that took forever as well? Was it this one or was it the other one? Yeah,
a very long time. Yes.
Yeah, and I just think, and again, if it's taking you that long, go with your original call, because then the more you watch something, the more you're looking out for it. And the more you're going, oh, but did I see that? Oh, hang on, let's have a look. And another camera angle, camera angle, you mean, Barry, where it is straight on. And you think, is there like the slightest, but even then it's like a minuscule, if there was a touch, it was something, but then it the coming together of the boots, that was the touch. Was it so? And I think it didn't help the way Wubbenmoy was essentially behind her at this point, wasn't she? So she was trying to like get a leg round. So I don't know if that could have played a part of she's then gone through the player rather than I don't know. So yeah, I just think if a decision is taking you that long, then it's not clear and obvious, and you should just stick with the original decision. And then I felt really sorry for Daphne as well, with her having the penalty retaken as well. Because for me, I think Renard, and I know hopefully this is what you were going to say, Liberty, but I think Renard actually started it and then she stopped and then she went. So there was almost like a so it was almost like Daphne's.
No, I didn't see that.
So Daphne she was on a line, and as Renard's moved forward, she's gone. But then because Renard's then either slowed down or she's stopped a bit and then she's taken it, that's what they're ruling, and I don't think that was fair.
And that's not allowed. If you start your
run, it's not allowed. Yeah,
that's not allowed. This is my least favorite thing about penalties in the world, and Kai Havertz does it every single time he takes a penalty, and I really like Kai Havertz. Sorry, Couture, I don't know if you're a Chelsea men's fan, but I actually am a really big Kai Havertz fan. And when he takes penalties, he does that thing where he like stops mid-run. That is not allowed. That is literally against the rules of penalties. And I hadn't realised that until now, but that makes so much sense, because there is no way Daphne comes off her line unintentionally unless she thinks that Renard is making that move. Her eyes are completely locked on her, and that makes much sense. If it was a thing of that doesn't happen, and I would have to watch it back to be 100%, but I'm happy to say that's the thing. Then I'm happy for it to be retaken, because that is against the rules to come off the line. That is the rules that can be retaken in my eyes. But if she's come off her line because of the action of the penalty taker, that seems very unfair, and that is a lot of just officiating for the sake of it rather than what's actually being happening. And I think that happened a lot in the semi-final. And yeah, sorry, Barry, I've kind of cut in before you've asked me there.
No, that was absolutely the next question I was going to go for with the retake, because again, my neutral no skin in the game hat instantly looked, because it was they played on. It was a very good save to begin with. She guessed correctly. Ball obviously goes all the way up down the other end, and then they stopped it, and I'm like, oh, well, this says it all, because it hadn't even gone off. She was just like, no, pick the ball up, we're going down this end again, which I thought was very dictatorial. I've got to be honest. You should at least wait for it to go out before saying no VAR. I've looked at it, but no, it's just pick the ball up, going back down there. So obviously off she goes. I did think she'd go the same way again. I had a little part of me that just thought, if you're going to do that, but obviously Van Domselaar decided to go the other way. It will be very interesting to see. I am going to go back and watch the highlights in a moment, actually, because I'm really intrigued to see this idea that Freya's got about that. And I agree with you. If the penalty's being taken and somebody's stopped their run, it's not quite right. I do wonder why goalkeepers step forward, though. Like, I'm not a goalkeeper, so I have no technical ability in this idea whatsoever. But surely the idea is to go side to side. Why do they need to step off their line before pushing themselves? And if they're desperate to do that, why don't they stand behind the line so that if they do take a step forward, they haven't crossed the line? I don't know.
Barry, goalkeepers tend to be quite tall, and if they just literally went that way, she'd probably headbutt the post. Like, if she literally just went sideways, she's like, I want to say 5'10". If she literally just went, I'm not tall, so I wouldn't hit the post, but I imagine she would just like headbutt the post. So I imagine that's why she goes forward, in just terms of like not injuring herself.
I'm intrigued if that's always with the case, so people always took a step forward. I don't know. I feel like this is something I want to go and research with what's going on, because it was blown my mind a little bit, really. But yes, I will definitely go and have a look at that. And that obviously then takes us to the second goal, which I think we can all agree, whether we are fans of the team or not, she's got no right to be scoring from the angle that she actually scores in. I thought it was actually quite a good goal. What did you make of that one, Liberty?
I feel like I've blocked this goal from my memory. Who scored this goal?
The far post, and then it went.
When she like flicks it with like the inside of her boot, and it's like, how have you done that?
I can't even recall this goal, but I'm sure it's brilliant because Diani is very good.
So it comes in from a corner, just like what in front of us. Comes in from a corner, and she like gets it on the half volley, and just the inside of her boot flicks it, and her legs are halfway up in the air. But she's facing away from the goal, so she literally curls her whole body round to flick it over, and you're just like, how? No one could defend against that, because you're not expecting it to come.
I have like a sense of like want to block the game out of my head, so now I just can't remember any of it. But fair enough, that sounds brilliant. And she's a player that's not been in great form for Lyon, so you know what, fair enough, good for her. We're gonna have to watch back the highlights to even remember that goal, but fair enough. Can I just quickly say something, because it happened between the penalty and this goal? The one where your brand uses Kim Little as a leapfrog and then gets a foul out of it.
Yes.
She jumped over Kim. She like literally leapfrogs her and then somehow gets a foul in her favour. And I thought, as soon as that happened, I thought, oh, the refereeing is going to be terrible in this game. Because how on earth, she stood right next to it and still somehow gives your brand the free kick. I just thought, nah, I'm done. At that point, I'd like clocked out, because I was like, there's actually no way that you've done that. That was genuinely a terrible decision, and a terrible decision for any game of football, let alone a Champions League semi-final. It was awful, and I just thought,
it was bad.
Nah.
Yeah, can't argue with that one, Liberty. You definitely get the win on that one. And she is literally Kim Little, so I mean, there's no excuses for it, really. You could probably have leapfrogged her properly, and it wouldn't have been a problem. But yeah, that's definitely the definition of buying a foul, I think there. I suppose the really important question here is that you came back. Arsenal did not just give in, as you would expect. Not expect them to give in. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. They didn't give in, as you would expect them not to give in. They'd conceded 2. They were now 3-2 down. But fear ye not, because Alessia Russo comes running in through the middle. The key question I've got really here is who scored it? Because Alessia Russo seems to be taking this to her grave, that she absolutely did get a touch on it. Various media outlets were putting it down as an own goal. She's as all good strikers do. No, that's my goal. And I'm sure none of the defenders really want that. But either way, we can definitely agree that the run that she made was absolutely superb. Took both of them with her, forced them whichever way it went for that ball to go into the back of the net. And it just has shown, I think, Arsenal's spirit throughout the entirety of this competition. The fact that they were able to bring it back level at that point, despite free kicks being given away because people can't jump properly. You must have been feeling like maybe it's, well, you definitely were feeling it's not over yet, but were you feeling confident that you could go that step further?
Sorry, as you were saying that, and I was listening, you asking me if we had the confidence to go further. Arsenal men have just got to Champions League final for the first time in 20 years, so I'm slightly distracted, but I'm going to answer the question. Yes, and I think the difference was Smilla Homburg came on, and I thought that she added a level that had not been there from the wing spaces up until then. She obviously gets if you're going with an own goal, it's not an assist, but if you're going with the Alessia Russo, then it is an assist kind of situation, depending on who you think scored it. She makes that goal, and I genuinely think that the last week after the Leicester game, week and then the semi-final, Smilla Homburg has shown her how high her levels are at Arsenal, and I thought that she added thank you, Emily. She added a level of intensity that wasn't there before, and I did have faith, but I also had faith, but also like the reservation that I knew how good Lyon are and how easily they could get one more just to tick it over the edge. Your brand literally did it. But I also am like deeply positive and always have faith that even when times are hard and you look like you're struggling, that you're going to have the 1% to go and do it. So maybe I'm just too positive. But yeah, I thought that why not? But yeah, I think that Smilla Homburg added that level that was needed in that moment, and that she was so good for a kid who's like 19. She's not even been at the club for 5 months. I actually have nothing else to say. Yeah, I thought, why not? We had the gumption to do it, but it didn't happen, and that's fair enough. That's just on life.
Okay, very good. Well done. I was just watching the penalty back, and I kind of agree with what Freya is saying. It's very, very. It's a quick stop though.
Marginal, like very, very
marginal.
Yeah.
I can imagine that's when she thought of starting it, but I think by the time she's kicked it, she has sort of gone. So you're probably right. That did initiate the move for her on that one, which doesn't feel particularly fair, if we are being honest. But there we go. So a level game. Frey, were you watching at this point? Or were you? Well, no, you wouldn't have been. You must have been well into WSL 2 at this point.
Yeah, so we were WSL 2, but Adam was still on the game and he was giving us updates. But I have now watched the highlights, so I can answer any questions that you may have.
Who scored?
Who scored? Russo's goal. Yes.
Do you think Russo's had that, or do you think she's just?
Well, I think it's weird, isn't it? Because from the camera angle, it looks like none of them got a touch to it. They all kind of like went up together, and like the ball somehow found its way at the back of the net. So
like the Powerpuff Girls or something.
just the magical combustion, and that's what forced the ball in. I think, between Russo and Heaps, one of them's got the leg in there to push it forward. But yeah, it looked like all three of them just kind of came together in a heap to see it in. But hey, it went in at the end of the day. So
absolutely did, as did Ulebrand's goal right at the very end of the game. It was, it's a heartbreaking way for anything to happen, really. There was a VAR check for offside. I have come to the conclusion that whilst I am not Arsene Wenger's biggest fan at all, the sooner offside is changed, the better it will be for the world, I believe, because it's just too difficult at the moment for people to look at it. As they said on the commentary, and in this case, I think they were spot on, it's where you draw the line of the arm, because handball could be just up to the shirt sleeve where that's supposed to be. So therefore, that would not be a part that's hanging up, because a hand 100% is, and a bit of her arm is definitely in front, but it's the shoulder in front. It's tight, very, very tight. And this is the thing with offside. So I actually think that the change of the whole player would have to be in front of the defender with daylight between the two for it to actually be offside. It is going to be much, much better, because you will be able to tell much easier. And actually, if it's marginal at that point, you sit there and you go, well, then it's offside, because you don't need to worry about toenails at that point. At that point, you just go, look, the vast majority of the body is way, way over. So I think that would be a better way. Unfortunately, that isn't the way that it is. And as a result, it was ruled onside. So the big question, Liberty, did you think it was offside? We'll just stick with that question, really, because nothing else I say after that is going to make you that happy. So we'll just go with that.
At first, before the lines VAR camera angle with the not real people, I said yes, it was offside. I said that straight away, and I said that quite passionately. My brother was in the room at this point, and if he were here, he could attest that I was shouting that I thought it was offside, and I thought it was quite clear. Then when you look at the VAR lines, fake people, I do think she's onside, and it is by a half an inch onside. Lotta's bottom is keeping her onside just about. That's the polite way of putting that, but
you can't score with your bottom, so
that is what's happening, and I don't have an issue at that point with it standing, because I can see why it's been given as onside. I agree that it needs to be not that close, as in the Wenger rule. I do think that needs to come into effect, because I think that if you're going down to half an inch of saying onside or offside, that's just ridiculous, and that's a bit over officiating the game. But in this instance where we're not working with that rule, I don't have an issue with it being being given and standing, because I can see it. Hello, my other Arsenal fan is here. We got to the finals, yay! Sorry, I just saw the OMG message. But yeah, I've got no issue with it standing once you see it with VAR. It makes sense. No issues there with me. Yeah, but at first, I did think it was offside.
No, I think that's fair. And Freya, I think when you look at it as well, it's a very good goal, very well taken, and one of those that, you can imagine if that had been the other way around and that had been Russo scoring that, the Arsenal fans would have been off their goal scoring bottoms to sit there and get very, very excited. And I think it really was just, for me, the game of the semi-finals.
I think it had a lot more jeopardy in the sense of the scoreline was so tight, and I think because Arsenal have done a very good job of, like, we know Blackstenius can just pop up and score a goal. And obviously Russo scored, and I think because Arsenal had so many chances, but just unfortunately just couldn't find the back of the net. So I think it kept it interesting between the two. But yeah, when you look at that VAR callback, because initially it looked like Lotta's bum, and then it did do the ankle, and then it did. So it's the angle that it was, yeah, it's marginal, but marginally correct, annoyingly. So yeah, she didn't have that much of an advantage. So for the Lions person to see that, I think they flagged it, didn't they, first? No, didn't. So yeah, so to spot that, to go to a check, to think it's so tight. But yeah, in this case, VAR has done the right thing. So there we go. Who'd have thought it?
Who'd have thunk it, indeed. Yeah, it's really strange. It's a difficult one. I think it is a hard one to swallow, but equally, this is what I mean with the whole rule of potentially just having your shoulder ever so slightly in front of somebody's backside just doesn't quite feel like the spirit of what offside is actually supposed to be. So yeah, I think fair play on that one. No worries, Annie. Not a problem that you missed it. It's absolutely fine. Liberty's obviously nipped off just for a second, Freya, so I will ask you this question first. Barcelona have made it now to 6 Champions League finals in a row. They basically sort of done what Chelsea have done in the WSL, but in Champions Leagues. So they've made it to 6 finals on the trot. But Lyon, on the head-to-heads, they've met each other 3 times in the finals. Lyon have won twice, and Barcelona the once. But it was the most recent in 23-24. Who's it going to be? Lyon or Barcelona?
Oh, it is really tight to call, because I think the Lyon team now, what they've shown in that, especially that second leg against Arsenal, I think if they come out like that, Lyon, they're going to really give Barcelona a run for their money, and it's going to be like a proper final, what we want. So I think if Barcelona can, I mean, you can't rule them out. They're Barcelona. They love a final, don't they? So I think it's going to be tight. I don't know in whose favour, but Lyon are going to pull off something special, I think, to get it past Barcelona. However, Barcelona have been beaten as recently as last season. So yeah, it can be done, but Barcelona are a fierce giant to come up against.
I just realised I was not muted at all there, so I coughed in everybody's ears. Apologies for that. But yeah, we've got one person saying Lyon, one person saying Barcelona. Freya sat very much on the fence there. Could go either way. Liberty, what are you going with? Are you going with the conquerors of Arsenal, or are you going for the conquerors of Germany? It's a bit harsh, not the whole country, is it?
They had wars about that, didn't they? I'm biased, and I really, really, really want Eva Payot to finally get her Champions League trophy that she deserves. And she's had the worst luck in finals. So I'm going to say, for pure biased reasons, I want Barcelona to win. And I also think it would help in her fight for potentially getting the Ballon d'Or. So I'm biased. I'm going to say Eva Payot with no actual thoughts.
Fair enough. And Jackie's saying tomorrow we need to have a massive match to have a shot. As long as our ankle's all right, then we should be fine. So there we go. Right, well, there we go. We've gone through so much. WSL 2 we've nailed. I suppose we should probably touch on the WSL. Freya, bit of a letdown, really, wasn't it, in general? I can't say there was anything super exciting about it. Manchester United on the Saturday effectively said, we're not interested in this race. You lot crack on. We'll be quite happy just sat here, not doing much, playing in the Sandwich Cup. just gave up effectively. Nice of them to get a goal at the end, just to give the fans something to cheer, but also leaving the field to booze. Some booze, which is not ideal. So United have really not done incredibly well, but it looks, I mean, obviously Chelsea cannot now reach Manchester City. The only team that can is Arsenal, but that's going to be an incredibly difficult one. Any thoughts on the WSL games?
Yeah, I think the only one that had that bit of excitement, I think the United getting an equaliser, was it the 94th minute? Schuler, for all of her critics saying, why isn't she scoring? She scored. Well, hey, got you a point. Lovely. But yeah, I think up until that point, it was very much, where are United? You know, where are they? But we'll talk about that a different day, Barry. I won't put through it again. But I think the fact that Liverpool held City for so long as well, I thought that was incredible, because I thought Liverpool could do it. I thought they could get a point out of it, which then would make the title race more interesting to see if Arsenal could then do it if City are dropping points. But I have to say, Canucks header, it was she meant that with all of her might, didn't she? But yeah, elsewhere, kind of everything happened the way expected, really, and then we're just Villa on yesterday. So yeah, it just not much excitement, really. There was much more exciting things happening in other leagues elsewhere. So yeah, which isn't the way I want to be talking about the WSL, but at the minute it's not that exciting, really. I want people to remember why they love the game, and bring some excitement back into it, especially compared to the other leagues where you're constantly on the edge of your seat. What's going to happen? So yeah,
I think Sean's prophecy came true in the end, didn't it? Had a brief sort of signs of life, but on the whole, it has pretty much followed a very similar sort of pattern. But it will. And what's shocking about this, I think, Liberty, is that we're talking about this being a boring WSL season, but for the first time in 7 years, there's going to be a new champion. It's not going to be Chelsea. And you would have expected this to have been like the world's biggest story. And actually, everybody's just like, whatever, which is a real shame for the WSL, really, because actually crowning new champions is something to be celebrated, really. I think, for the diversity of champions within the country, you want it to be competitive in that respect. I suppose really the only question I can ask you is, now that you're out of the Champions League, do you see an assault happening? Because you've got the games in hand, but you've still got to make it happen.
Well, sorry. I was thinking about my grandma and Arsenal men, but I'm all right. I think if the Liverpool City game had finished 0-0, that it deserved to finish. I'm honestly gutted for Liverpool that it didn't end in 0-0, because they were so resilient. And I thought that Jennifer Falk, until that one moment in the 90th minute for the goal, she was like genuinely sensational until that 1 minute, and then she unfortunately fumbles a tiny bit and it goes in. But if that had finished 0-0 and they'd dropped points 2 weekends in a row, I thought maybe now that they won the Liverpool game, I think West Ham will give them a fight. I don't see West Ham winning. And so even if we win all of our games, it's still too much for us to make up. I don't know if that's mathematically right, but that sounds about right. They kind of had to lose or draw the Liverpool game for us to have really much of a chance, because otherwise it could come down to goal difference and stuff like that, which we're actually catching up on after the Leicester game. We only have like 6 goals that we need to catch up. Two bad out games in hand are Villa and Brighton, who we chronically struggle against. That being said, Brighton tomorrow, they obviously play Liverpool at the weekend in the FA Cup, and I'm wondering if they're going to shuffle a bit to put out their best squad at the weekend because they have a chance of an FA Cup final on the line. I wonder if they're going to sort of not sack off this game like tomorrow night, but have more focus on the weekend and getting to that FA Cup final. Maybe. But yeah, but I'm not sure that we're going to do it. I think we have a chance of winning the rest of our games. Sorry, Freya. Sorry, Sean, if you're watching. Sorry, specifically, sorry, Freya. But I think it may just be a step too far. And I think it will be another season where we look back and rue the draws we've had. And I'm thinking the Villa game, that late draw at the Emirates specifically, or other games that we've drawn that I now can't think of. Oh, the Chelsea game where we should have been far and away winners, but the refs got involved and didn't made it a draw. I think we'll look back and rue those games because those could have been the difference when it comes to at the end of the season, which is the same as the 21-22 season, I want to say. The season where our last game of the season was West Ham away and Chelsea won. It must have been 21-22. Yeah. Or 21-22. Excuse me. Our last game of the season was West Ham away, and we could have won the league if we hadn't have drawn some of the games we drew. And I fear we're going to have that situation again.
Yeah.
Because of we've not lost, knock on wood, so far, as many games as everyone else. I know we've got these games in hand, and we easily could lose both of these games. And if we're going off of last season, we did lose the Brighton and Villa game that we had at the end of the season. That was because we were focusing on Champions League. But, I'm saying, on paper, we did actually lose those things. So if we're looking at that, maybe we do lose them. And then we go, well, is what it is. But at this moment, we've only lost one game. And that was City last November, last autumn. So, yeah, I think we potentially will rue draws more than anything. But, yeah.
We shall see. Well, a step too far, says Liberty, which could be a way of describing Daphne Van Doncelar's penalty saving techniques. Couldn't help it then. Listen, you went there and I was like, I heard it and I thought, got to do it. Sorry. But there we go. So that is WSL. We know who the top three are going to be. It's just a question as to whether or not Manchester City will be walking away with the title or if Arsenal are going to come back with literally a comeback of biblical proportions. We shall find out. I don't think there is a huge amount more left to cover this week. I was just going to point out that obviously the A-League is onto the semi-finals now of their playoffs. The big one was that Melbourne Victory obviously finished in sixth spot. Now, if you remember last year, the Central Coast Mariners went on to win the whole thing, having qualified in sixth. Melbourne Victory were able to finish sixth and defeat Canberra United, so they've made it into the semi-finals. Adelaide United went out to Brisbane Roar, so it meant that Melbourne City at the top of the division would play Melbourne Victory, so they don't have far to travel for both of those games. But what's obviously interesting there is Melbourne City are the premiers. They won the title, but last season they did not manage to get out of the playoffs. As I said, they lost. Melbourne Victory 1-0 down after one leg, so it'll be very interesting to see how that second leg goes at the weekend. Brisbane Roar, who finished third, are 2-1 up against Wellington, who finished second. So, and of course, are the only New Zealand team that are in the Australian League. It's like Australia in the Eurovision. I don't get it, but they're right close to each other. So why not crack on? Sip away saying, what's this? It's a fun fact, right? I was actually talking to somebody after the match at the weekend, a guy called John Commode, who's obviously got North United quite a lot. And I hear a lot of people say this. I wouldn't say I'm ambivalent, but I just don't rate this as a take, really. That all of a sudden we should be competing. We've got no European distractions. We've still got to play the bleeding Sandwich Cup. So we're still playing the same number of games as you lot do to begin with in that respect. So it's not like we're not going to be playing games anymore. And, you know, I don't know. Unless we get some good players in, I think it's going to be a bit of a problem. Liberty's waving at me. Is it bye? What's up?
No, I was just going to say that I think it's coming from a place of the idea that City ran away with the league this season because they were the only top 4 team without Champions League football. I think that's where that idea comes from, where if because of what City have done this season, then it should be able to be replicated by United or any other team. If Chelsea don't get Champions League football, if they go out in the qualifiers, for example, then maybe they should compete better for the WSL.
Yeah,
I think that's where it's coming from. I don't think I agree with it because you had Chelsea winning the
the
league whilst also in Europe. So I'm not sure, but I think that's where
you've got Leah Galton's already saying she's going out the door. So, you know, if you're just going to keep getting rid of these people that are supposed to be there for depth anyway, and you're still not building on that when we've got no depth because we've been playing youngsters and naming benches that don't have enough people and 2 goalkeepers on the bench. Like, I don't understand these things, but it's wild to me that that's the situation we're in. Until you can build depth, it's just not going to happen, in my opinion. So there's a lot there still to do. But if you want more on that, there's going to be a show tomorrow. So do feel free to jump onto Wolf United and have a chat about that. That will be tomorrow, hopefully, provided we get some people on. Just looking a bit dim on the ground at the minute. But yeah, that'll be tomorrow at 7. So that's that one. The final thing that we need to talk about is a shout out that Liberty wanted to do, something to do with the NWSL and a side that are doing particularly well. So Liberty, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I actually wanted to give a shout out to the Portland Thorns because I think that, well, first off, they're top of the table. They've had 1 draw, 1 loss, and the rest are wins. And I want to say it's 5 wins. And in the last week, the NWSL calendar is very weird and I don't understand it, but they've already played like San Diego twice and the season's only started like 2 months ago. I don't really understand that one, but their 1 loss, for example, was San Diego Wave in beginning of April, and last week they beat them at home 2-0. And I think that for a team that only had a manager 2 weeks before the regular season started, and that being the manager of Robert Villahan, obviously from Spurs, we know him very well. I also know him from Big Häcken. But he had 2 weeks to prepare this team, and they are top of the table currently, 15 points. Excuse me. And I just want to give them a shout out because I think they've had a very, very good start to the season. It's kind of gone under the radar because of they are expected to do well, but in previous seasons they've not. And I think that he's got them to a point where they're clicking very well. Sophia Wilson's back, formerly Sophia Smith. She's now she had back-to-back goals against somebody, and then San Diego. They beat Chicago away at the weekend, 2-0. And yeah, I just think he's got all the pieces going right at the right time. Liv Moultrie was the youngest player in NWSL history to get to 100 regular season games, and she scored on her 100th and assisted. That's the Chicago game. Jessie Fleming is genuinely one of the best midfielders in the league. And I said this at the beginning of the season. I thought that the issues with her before were they were trying to make it work between her and Sam Coffey, and it didn't work the right way. But now that obviously Sam Coffey's at Man City, Jessie Fleming can sort of do what she needs to do, and she's been excellent. in this beginning part of the season. And yeah, I just wanted to give them a shout out because I think they've been brilliant. Like, other than the one loss and one draw, like, no notes for them. Villahan's done a very good job with the squad he inherited, with like literally no impact on who his players were, because he joined 2 weeks before the regular season started. Like, there was no preseason, there's nothing. He had 2 weeks and a dream, quite literally. So yeah, I thought that they've been brilliant, and I wanted to just give them a shout out because I thought they deserved it.
Well, consider them shouted. That's superb. Obviously, within the NWSL, there were 2 teams that are brand new that we said we would be keeping an eye on. Boston Legacy will need to build one because at the moment they are bottom of the NWSL, which is obviously not ideal for them, level on points with Racing Louisville. And Denver Summit are not quite at the summit just yet. They are 13th. So a little bit of a struggle in recent games for these teams, but you would expect that. They're brand new and getting used to the competition. So for them, anything is a foundation that they can grow on. And as Jackie says, they did finally win a match. So it could well be that they are starting to click, which would be great news for them. Freya, is there anything you want to pull out from the last 7 days in women's football that you think should be shouted out that hasn't been yet?
Yeah, just want to do a little roundup from Liga F and Serie A. Surprisingly, know me. Just wanted to confirm Barcelona are champions, 75 points. Yeah, we know that. But Real Madrid and Sociedad have secured Champions League for next season. I think Sociedad have only got to the they've only qualified once before in their history. So second time for them after their win at the weekend. So very happy there. No one can catch them. Atletico are 10 points behind them. So that is the top 3 in Spain. And then in Italy, Roma have been crowned champions despite Inter could technically overtake them, because in Italy it is who's won the head-to-head out of the top 2 teams. So because Roma won both of them, then they're champions. So there you go. So Roma at top, Inter are second on 43 points. And at the weekend, it was Juventus versus Napoli for that third spot. Juventus did end up winning, so now they're 5 points clear of Lazio and Napoli in 4th and 5th place. So it looks like, unless something goes horribly wrong, that's going to be Roma, Inter and Juve in the Champions League spots next season as well. But yeah, 2 games left in Spain and Italy, and of course in the WSL as well. So really getting to the business end of the season.
Absolutely. And what I'm hearing here is that basically all of the top leagues in Europe pretty much worked out who their Champions League contenders for next season are going to be. So there we go. League F, top 3 again as
top
well.
Three.
Top three, yeah.
And bottom 2 get relegated. So at the minute, Levante is pretty much gone. Bless them. Alhama could still technically do it, but that's a big ask to win both of their last 2 games, and for Logroño to drop points and not gain any. So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be Alhama and Levante to get relegated.
Didn't they just come up? First thing you mentioned, Alhama, yeah.
They did. Alhama and Logroño came up last season. So again, they're all at the bottom, which shows the disparity between the teams in Liga F. So all the people saying it's not competitive, it is. For everyone below the top spot is competitive.
There you go. And the last thing, I suppose, we should probably have a Botafogo update. It's not going well.
You don't want one of those. It didn't go well at the weekend.
Did not go well at all.
At all.
Very badly. They've lost the last 2 games. They lost to Atletico Mineiro 2-0, and they've lost at home to Red Bull Bragantino, which does sound like a film director, really, doesn't it? You know, you've got Quentin Tarantino and his mate Red Bull Bragantino, but there we go. So not ideal. They're 15th in the league. Not looking great in the mighty Brazilian league for Botafogo, but we shall see how they get on through the season.
I think you've missed the biggest thing, Barry.
I've missed
The
biggest
2 red
thing.
cards
2 red cards
at the weekend.
Well, no wonder they lost 3-0.
Yeah, one in the 55th minute, a double yellow for Anna Caroline, and then a straight red for.
This is outrageous.
Okay, well, this is just bullying at this point. Botafogo.
If this carries on, I'm just going to go full Cockney, and then that'll be it. And there'll be none.
And the other, a straight red for. It doesn't give a reason like it does on other leagues, but straight red for Tiune Zio. That's definitely wrong. I'm going to have to look that up, but she got a straight
Can
red.
Liberty pronounce that, please?
No. But yeah, 2 reds down to 8 players with 15 minutes left to go. It's not really a surprise that they scored 2 goals after that one.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Not a good time at all. But Jackie saying Portland beat Seattle after 2 red cards. So
that is very true, Jackie. That is very true.
Should learn from that, Botafogo. There you go. And there we go. With that, we have reached the end of our bank holiday 1 day removed show. And what a show it's been. Freya, absolutely brilliant to have you with us again. Anything people should be aware of? Anything going on that you want them to go and look at?
Thank you. Yes, pleasure as always to be here. Transfer track is back. Yay! So obviously clubs are announcing their contract extensions and who's leaving. Spurs, dumped about 5 players the other day, didn't they? So yes, the transfer tracker is up and ready to go. So yeah, that's just going to be departures, of course, at the moment. But I'm gonna publish it properly and do lots of stuff around it. So the whole 115 yards, make sure you give it a follow, please. Because again, it's hard algorithms for people to find me at the minute. So yes, so that's going to be up very, very soon. And it's not just WSL, because I love work. WSL, WSL2, Liga FA and Serie A. It's all 4 leagues looking at who's coming and going. So yeah, thank you very much.
There you go. Wild. Liberty, anything you would like to shout out? Anything that's going on that people need to know about?
Not particularly.
Okay.
They're outdated now, but if you fancy it, I spoke to, as I said earlier, Felicia Skruder and Sophia Reedy last week. But they're a bit outdated now, but if you fancy reading those.
Reading? Absolutely.
I got to talk about some less final related questions because, of course, I did. But yeah, other than that, no. And the reason we are Botafogo fans is because essentially Barry said, "Liberty, can you find us a team to support?" And I said, "You betcha." And I put a number generator, and it came out with 3. And this was the first game of the season, and they were 3rd because they'd won 1 game, and we didn't realize that it was going to go terribly after that. So we are Botafogo fans by the number generator that I got asked to do because I didn't want to just choose the most successful team in Brazil. So we got Botafogo through a number generator, and it's going terribly so far. But yeah, that's why we're Botafogo fans.
The main reason as well, Annie, just to throw this one out there for you to finish off as well, is that I don't know if you know this, but the world is a very big place. And I am but one man, and these are but just 2 ladies. And between us, it's very difficult trying to cover the entire world by yourself. I found it a bit tricky. So we thought rather than trying to highlight absolutely every single league with every single match and every single game that was played, it'd be easier to dip in and out of the leagues if we had teams that we were going to look at. So in order to try and put some highlight on the Brazilian league, and to be fair, it's the first time we've spoken about it this season, so it's a little bit more visibility for a league that ultimately has been pretty invisible up to that point. Was just an opportunity for us to, as we move through the season, highlight what's going on in a very minuscule way. And it will be minuscule because poor old Botafogo are not looking like they're going to do too much at the top end, but it will still give us some discussion points, such as 2 red cards. So there we go. The NWSL was a slight misnomer on there, but we said we'd look at 2 teams on that, being Boston and Denver. So that's very much where we'll go with that. And as new leagues start, the same thing will happen. That'll be all the way through. It's going to be absolute hell for Liberty when Sweden kick off again. It's going to be great. Absolutely can't wait, because at that point I'm going to do the generator, and then we'll see which team it is that we get from there, and we will learn how to say their names. Oh yeah, absolutely. We're not just going with Hammarby and Häcken because you want to. That's not how it works. You can wave your finger at me all you like.
I'm not supporting anyone but Hammarby. That's my team now.
No, we're not supporting the team. We're following the team. There's a difference.
I'm not following anyone but Hammarby. That's my team. I can't throw
You
3
lie.
years
Watch
down the drain
everything
because
that's
your
going
number
on in Sweden.
generator. I can't
I'm
throw
not
you
having
3 years down the drain because your number generator told us that we should support Djurgården or someone else instead. I can't be doing that.
Question:
I'll
Do
be
you talk
shunned.
about every team in the WSL, or do you only talk about Arsenal?
Well, it depends on what questions you ask me.
There you go.
But I already talk about lots of different Swedish teams. I'm just not
Exactly. It's not
following
like people
anyone
are not-
else but Hammarby.
It's not like people aren't going to get Hammarby and Häcken footage from you, is it? I mean, it's like every week we let you have that conversation. But it'd be nice to know if there's another side and learn a bit more. I love this, by the way. Wake me up before you Botafogo. Very good. Like it. Wham. There we are. Right. Superb stuff. Been superb. Beauty sleep time. Do join us tomorrow at 8:30 for Lower League Lingo, where we'll be investigating a little bit more as to what on earth has happened at Norwich, having just been promoted and then sacking their management team, which is a little bit wild. I'm going to go away and furiously be texting and working out what on earth has gone on there. Very much looking forward to that. So do join us. We'll also be looking at the runners and riders in Tier 5, letting you know where we are with that, where the points per game situation is for the 2 teams out of the 8 divisions that will be looking like they will be promoted as well. So lots to go, lots to talk about. But we'll be doing that tomorrow, and then we'll be back next week on Monday, I am sure, when we will, I'm sure by that point, have confirmed who the top 3 sides are going to be in the WSL, and there'll be plenty more to talk about as well, but not Häcken and not Hammarby, because we are going to be Rosengard fans. So there we go. Have a lovely time. See you all later. Good night.